Hey everybody, this is AJ from modernintel.ca. I'm going to do a disassembly of the Goblin solo launcher now. So go ahead and unload the air cartridge, put that aside. Then you want to start off with your flathead screwdriver, and there's 3 screws. There's a big one at the front here that holds the barrel housing on, and then there's 2 just below the barrel housing and one in the semi-grip there. So go ahead and take those off. And of course, with any paintball gun, you'll want to do this on a table because the nuts will fall out and they're quite small. So there's 2 small screws with 2 nuts, and there's 1 big screw that holds on the barrel housing and a nut that goes with it. So basically the barrel housing will just come off. From there, it's kind of a finicky little thing. It's clamshell design, so you're gonna have to split it and then kind of jiggle one side, and it's almost like you're gonna break it, but you kind of have to split it from the bottom and kind of pull from the top, because the only thing that's really holding it is the back sight that locks in the barrel housing. So you can give it around, give the back sight a bit of a jiggle, and hopefully it will, oh there you go, and it pops out, and that's just 1/2 of the Goblin. So go ahead and wash that if you've had any paint break on it or in it or somehow. Now when you look at the basic trigger mechanism and safety and all that, it's a lot to take in all at once. If you can see here, try to put everything in order. There's 3 different springs here. There's 2 on the trigger mech, and then there's 1 on the safety, and oh, there's another one on the rear sight slider. And they all have their own place, and they all pretty much lock in there, so when you have it completely apart, they don't really fall out unless you really reef on it. So that's the safety switch there, and it has the spring at the bottom there. The sight just pops off, and it also has a spring. And then with the trigger, there's the 1 spring here, 1 spring here. The back spring goes into some sort of like a spring block, and it just slides out. But it also kind of holds in the spring in place when it's attached to the body. So that's everything. We got 2 springs here for the trigger, and it goes with the spring holder here. We got the rear sight with the spring, and we got the safety with the spring. And that's 2/2 of the Goblin right there, so you can clean it however which way you want. Now to put it back together, just take 1/2, whichever one you want, doesn't matter. I usually start off with the trigger mech. And when putting on the spring block here, you kind of want to have it so that it's molded with the spring, or with the trigger mech. It's kind of rounded at one end here. That will go pretty much right where the hammer would be. You can see that it's a bit of a slope on the side there, and the spring just sits on the little bit of a nipple that's right in the back. Let's go ahead and put that together so that it kind of looks like that, right? I don't know if you can see that or not. take your other spring that was on the trigger and put it on the nipple that's just under the hammer, and there's also a little groove in the body that the spring slides into. And then take your safety block with the spring there, and you'll see pretty much everything has a hole and every spring has a slot, so everything fits in perfectly and you know exactly where it's supposed to go. Now with the rear sight, the spring doesn't really fall off, it's mounted on there quite well. You'll want to have the spring, the wall that it's on there, yeah, this wall here, facing towards the barrel. So go ahead and try to slide that on. So when you have the back sight on, you'll take the other half of the body, and the top half here, you want to put that in first, just under the sight. And then pretty much just snap it on there, and that's pretty much the hardest part to take apart the Goblin itself. Make sure everything's snapped in there, no gaps anywhere. And then you can put in your nuts at the back, and they're all shaped to fit the nut, and then the other side is shaped to fit the screw head. So you can see that, put them in their proper place, and then you can just screw it back in. Now with the barrel, it just slips in there at the front little rails there. And then take your big nut, put it in its proper hole, and take your screw, kind of wiggle the barrel housing around so that it fits in there properly. And then you can just grab your bigger screwdriver and just screw it in. So once you have everything all put back together, of course with any paintball gun, charge up your air cartridge and give it a test, make sure the safety works. Make sure you can't pull the trigger if the safety isn't being pushed down. Make sure the barrel housing lock is still working. And yep, give it a test. Everything works fine, and then you're good to go. That's a completely disassemble of the Goblin solo launcher. Thanks a lot, guys.